thousands of protesters took to the streets in defiance of a police ban on anti-government demonstrations in Hong Kong. Bob Seely worked as a foreign correspondent for The Times. He is now a Conservative MP for the Isle of Wight and has been on the streets in Hong Kong. He joins us live now from Hong Kong. Bob Seely, good evening. Thanks for joining us. Whereabouts are you?
I'm just back at my hotel. I went out for an evening stroll and there were still tens of thousands of protesters out, and it was more sort of, this afternoon it was sort of peaceful protests taking to the streets. This evening it had more of the feel of sort of civil disobedience about it, and I think as I was leaving, the police were moving in with I think 2 water cannon and riot police and shields, and I think rubber bullets were, I think they fired off the first round of rubber bullets about 3 hours ago, and they've been firing tear gas quite a few hours before that as well. So pretty busy.
Bob, as you're speaking, we're looking at footage of one of the fires. I was messaging you as I saw this vision coming through. You'd just been past where that fire took hold, and it took quite some time for the fire brigade to get through, the authorities to get through and attend to that fire, didn't it?
Yes, it's actually very near to my hotel. So we went out, had a quick bite to eat, and went for a wander just to see what's happening on the streets. And as we walked past it, we were about a block away. There was quite a big explosion. So something went up on that fire, and it suddenly got a lot bigger. And then you sort of have sudden movements of protesters. So people then started running, and then they calmed down again. But I mean, that entire street was pretty much taken over by the protesters this evening. I think it's being cleared as we speak now. And for those of your viewers who know Hong Kong, I think the protesters, the hardcore protesters, were now heading up to Causeway Bay.
The reports that we've got in The Australian say that violence flared in the Admiralty area late Saturday afternoon after crowds occupied major roads in processions that stretch for miles through the city. In other districts, people of all ages held umbrellas in the drizzling rain, chanting for freedom as social unrest stretched into, this is now the 13th weekend, Bob. We also saw pictures of water cannon, which you pointed out to me. The water appears to have been dyed blue. What are we to make of that?
I think the Iranians a few years ago dyed they were using blue dye so they could pick up the protesters in the days afterwards. So if there was a purpose, it's because then it's to dye it so the dye sticks to your clothes or sticks to your skin. I mean, I'm guessing here, but this is the only reason why you'd have coloured water. So it makes it easy to identify people who were there in the days afterwards.
You've been a foreign correspondent. You've covered all sorts of stories. I was listening to the Sky UK's Alex Crawford saying, in her view, this is unprecedented. You've been on the ground there moments ago. What's your view of it, Bob? Well,
I mean, I have to say the people complain about the police. The police are relatively controlled here. Clearly, they're firing tear gas, and there are reports of injuries, but they're not behaving like violent thugs. I mean, the issue here is a political one. You have Hong Kongers who are used to civil liberties that you and I are aware of, or take for granted, and at the same time, you have a Beijing one-party state in mainland China that doesn't like political protest and that doesn't like the political protest that is taking place here. So effectively, Hong Kong is in the front line of this battle between two visions of humanity. One is the Western liberal model where people have strong individual rights and freedom, and the other one is a more authoritarian model which has been practiced by China and Russia and other states, where the state is much more powerful and the state objects to, doesn't like, and tries to stamp on dissent. And this place is caught in a fight between those two very competing values.
It certainly is. With your experience, Bob, how do you think this will end?
I think it's, possibly in one of three ways. Either the Hong Kong demonstrators get their way and the Beijing regime will continue with the one country, two systems, allowing Hong Kong its freedom or a wide degree of independence. Option two is that the regime in China changes, which is frankly pretty unlikely because it's becoming more, not less authoritarian. And option three is that there is eventually a more violent protest and a more violent end to the situation. There are three schools of thought there.
And we've got live pictures now of police with barriers in the streets. Bob, before we leave you, we have got a photograph of you. I think we can put that up. There's a photograph of you that you sent me, and it's of you being photographed. Do you know why you've been photographed in the streets today?
Oh, I think that was just media folks. I was just chatting to people, I was just observing the demonstration. I was staying out of the way of the main demonstration, so I was very much to the side of it. So I don't think there was anything particularly nefarious there. We are getting reports that apparently a journalist was shot in the head about 40 minutes ago. I'm not quite sure where that was, but that's why one of my friends has just passed me that message.
All right. Well, unconfirmed reports that a journalist has been shot in the head. That's what you're telling us, Bob?
I am indeed, yes. But that is absolutely, I've just had that note passed to me. I don't know if it's correct or not, but that's what the current rumour is amongst the protesters.
All right. Well, you stay safe. Bob Seely, thank you for joining us out of Hong Kong tonight.